Hey there, fellow streakers. Sorry, I came in a little bit late.
We're just going to let that music
just keep
on
right on
playing.
going. I was watching you go through some of the things you were doing. I was looking at my papers, and I was like, this show is starting.
Hello, we should welcome everyone to our
Hi, fellow
conversation.
streakers. It's Jeff and Jamie, and we're with you again on another streaking podcast.
Yes, we are.
You're sometimes thinking about that, another streaking podcast.
I know.
Yeah.
Making it happen.
It reminds me in the book where Chris, he wrote at the end, you are who you streaking wanna be. I mean,
Yeah.
if you know Chris, he is totally.
It totally fits.
Woo, our levels are a little hot here. I'm going to chill us out just a touch. I was a little bit excited there. Sorry.
Because we're just happy to be here.
We're just happy to be here.
We're blowing your ears out.
So last time we were talking about medication adherence, and I wanted to continue that forward because it's such a big idea. But if you didn't hear last one, let's just catch you up just a little bit on where we were. So Jamie, you had basically an iron deficency. So
right.
just give us a little summary.
Well, we were just talking. We're focusing a lot on health and wellness this month, as probably everybody in as the new year starts. You want to start. It is interesting that the new year starts, and one of the first things that we think about is, how can I be more healthy? And I've thought about that and kind of asked the question, I'm like, why is that the first thing we think about? And I thought, because when you don't have your health, it affects everything in your life. And so if we can feel better, we feel better about everything. Yeah. And so it's, when you want to start to look at things and how to get better, we often look at our physical well-being. And
I didn't even think about it. I've thought about that in the past, but that you bring it to light right now, it's somewhat, what is it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Right.
When you've got your physical needs taken care of,
then
when you're
you can
looking at it
think
and
about,
you're saying, then
you can think about other things. And so a lot of times these physical needs were like, okay, I want to be more healthy. I want to be more in shape, or I want to get, I just want to do better in that arena so that I can.
Love those words too. We always talk about should be and want to be. Mm-hmm. I should be and want to be. And then people will typically go to, well, you should just make it a habit.
Right.
Which the inference is that it will become automatic.
Right. And that's what we talked about, is that I had an iron deficiency and had known that I needed to be taking an iron supplement. And it's just fascinating to me how difficult it is to get us to do these things that we know are going to be beneficial.
Uh-huh.
And I think there's a myriad of reasons for that. I think that, life is busy. But I also think there's this weird emotional component inside of our brain that sometimes we have to overcome. I don't know what it is. Maybe everybody doesn't do that. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I feel like there's this thing inside of my head this emotional thing I have to overcome.
I don't think you're an enigma in the world. I think there's probably one or two other people
well,
that may struggle
based
with it
on,
as well.
yeah,
Same with me.
Yeah.
Based on the research.
And sometimes I'll look at myself and be like, why won't you do this?
Well,
it's important.
And I think I look at it too. So here's another thing is, if you don't take the iron pill, will you die from that?
No.
So there's not impending death.
But I've even heard of some people that have it, and it still can be hard. Changing our behavior is very difficult.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult thing to do.
I wonder, though, if the changing the behavior is all about changing the perspective of how we see it. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's how many days, that's why, again, back to streaking, how many days in a row can I do this? That's really the question.
That's honestly... That is why we wrote this book. That is why I sit here across the table from you and do this podcast with you, is because from my own personal experience.
Because you had a lifelong ambition to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. I know it was deep down inside of you.
And you just don't know that because it's not
It
true.
wasn't. It was not her deep, long
It's not. It was your deep, long ambition to have me do a podcast with you.
Yes.
But I sit here because I look at what streaking has helped me be able to do that I have not been able to accomplish using any of the other tools. Not at the level that I'm doing what I'm doing here.
And I believe that we had studied habits for a long time in the hopes that eventually one day a lot of these great things that we want to have consistently in our life would become automatic. Not that we would have, and what that did is dilute us into thinking that, or maybe it was just me, but it diluted me into thinking that I could be automatic, and then when I wasn't, the deficiency was in me.
Right.
I was deficient.
And I think I believed that if I do something enough times, I won't have to put effort into it anymore.
Yeah.
That it'll just be there and I can set it on the shelf and it keeps working and I don't have to think about it. And it wasn't happening.
I love that. Set it on the shelf.
And it keeps
working.
going. It just keeps doing its
You
thing.
don't have to pay attention to growth.
I put the effort in.
Take care of itself. It's like, remember when we planted a garden for the first time? Mm-hmm. And we got it all prepped. We put it all together. We did everything about it. It was out on the side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we did pumpkins and cucumbers and we had corn. And believe me, we're saying a lot, but this was a tiny little garden.
It was a tiny little garden, yeah.
We had the kids out in there. We got it all weeded and taken care of. We didn't set up the watering system right away, but we thought, we'll be able to do that. Got everything planted. It looked beautiful. Do you remember walking through it? Because we had this concrete path that went through it, and we thought, oh, that is so beautiful.
And we were just like, look at what we've done.
Look at what we've done. And then we went away from it. And we came back a month later and did not understand how all the weeds got back in there.
Exactly. And I love where you're going with the garden because I think that is the lie that has been told us with habits is this idea that if you put in enough effort up front and you get that ball rolling, then it'll just keep on rolling. You won't even have to think about it anymore.
You won't have to worry about the weeds. You won't even have to water it.
And it's not true.
It's just not true.
But the thing that was hard, and this was something I was thinking about the other day, is that I knew that for a long time. I knew that. I mean, like you said, with the garden, we know that these things that you want to have taken care of require attention. Continual attention and effort and deliberate.
It's deliberate. It's purposeful. It's mindful.
It's not going to be something that you set up and it just takes care of itself. However, when I looked at, developing a habit, there wasn't any other solution. It was like, well, you can set a goal and there are things that goals are appropriate for that I'm reaching for, but I can't live at a goal level all the time. Yeah. I can't constantly be stretching for that thing that I haven't reached. It's not a sustainable way of life. That's why you have a finish line.
That's true.
Is because you're meant to finish it.
Yeah,
and then it's done. And you're done.
Not that a goal inherently is bad.
No,
but it's meant to be completed, and then you can move on.
You move on to
whatever the next thing is.
But you're not meant to live at that sustained level of effort of reaching for that thing that you haven't. You're meant to cross the finish line and be like, okay, I accomplished that. And that was why when we talk about running. Like I wasn't going to be able to sustain training for a marathon all the time.
Right.
And I didn't want to. I didn't want to be a professional marathon runner. That wasn't who I wanted to be. And so I think the lie was that if you put in all this effort at first and you do it right and you do it enough times, you do it repeatedly and you're consistent for a while, then it'll get the ball rolling and it'll just keep on going. And you'll just be able to sit and watch it go and it'll be great.
It go. We can watch that garden grow. We can just sit back and watch it grow.
Look at all the work that we put in and we did it right the first time. Mm-hmm. And so, but I knew that wasn't true. I just didn't have a solution. I didn't have anything else. I was like, well, they keep saying
and I
that
wonder
if I do this,
as I
it'll
look
happen.
At the garden and I think about it now, had we said, okay, so now we're going to set a streak to go out in the garden at least one time daily.
Yeah.
That would have been huge because what would have happened?
I would have pulled a couple weeds.
Pulled a couple of weeds. And if you'd have done that daily, or I would have done that daily, or the kids would have done that daily, I mean, we could have set a family streak around it. It was conscious now. We weren't doing all the upfront work and thinking, okay, now it's on autopilot. We're doing all the upfront work and now saying, okay, how many days in a row can we go out in the garden?
Right.
And make sure that it's being taken care of.
And I love this too.
And that's good growth. And that promotes the great growth.
Yep. That's what I was going to say too, is that anybody who really has a beautiful garden, they're probably not weeding it once every, 7 to 10 days. They are probably out there. Yeah, or 6 weeks. They are out there. The best way to keep a garden looking amazing is to be out there a little bit every day.
Every single day.
And that's what a streak is, a little bit every single day.
And the streak is for conscious growth because that's what I look at as far as good growth comes with conscious effort.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be huge effort. It doesn't have to be over the top effort. Actually, the effort is in the consistency.
The effort is in the consistency. And that's the thing that's amazing. And that I think is part of the lie with habits, this idea that if you put in a whole lot of effort one time, then you can let it go and it'll be fine. But really, what really accomplishes something is more of the smaller sustained effort.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's small and you don't get that same level of impact, it's harder to feel like it's really making a difference. But it is amazing that the small sustained, in my mind, has more power than the occasional but big.
Yeah, I want to riff on something you just said. It's hard to know that it's making a difference. So I want to go back to your iron pill for just a second, because medication adherence, taking one iron pill one time a week, it's not going to make a big difference. But even taking it, you got
well,
something.
And the other thing is I can't at the end of the month take 30 in one day. Like that's not going to be.
Everyone leave mom alone. She's taking her iron regimen.
I'm taking my iron pill. I'm going to take the bottle today and then I'm good for the rest of the month.
That's probably not good.
No, it is not the right way to do it.
Wow. Which brings me to medication adherence, which is why that was such a significant thing, because, and then we had Abby who talked to us about a similar thing where she was more consistent now than she'd ever been. And you bring up a great point. It's not like you can take your vitamins all in one shot for the year, or for the month, or for the week. It's a daily thing that you're going to do. And the question is, how many days in a row can you do it? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I love what happened with Abby is that what happened is she took her vitamins and her medication consistently. She started off with just one. You said, pick the one medication that's the most important. Don't worry about the whole regimen right now. Just laughably simple. Is there one?
Yeah.
And so that's how she started. And then it propelled her, the success. She's like, well, I'm just going to take the rest of it too.
Yeah.
And so that, and I love that when she went to the doctor, what happened is she was level. Her levels were level. Like she wasn't all over the map anymore. That's what consistency does, is it levels everything out so that you've got, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's just, it makes things so that you're not up and down and in and out. Well, it's like what we've
talked about. You stand on the success of your streaks.
Yep.
That level
it creates a floor.
Yeah, it creates a floor, a foundation that you can stand on the success of your streaks and now start to reach for something else that is a goal.
Yep.
So one goal, not several, but one that you reach for, but you stand on the success of your streaks.
Right.
When in this paper, the medication adherence, who cares? We referenced this in our last show as well. And I found the authors.
Oh, good.
In the last show, I didn't find the authors, but I have them now. And they're published in the show notes. It's Marie T. Brown and Jennifer K. Brussel, who are both doctors, MDs. And in this paper, they talk about the factors contributing to poor medication adherence, and I'm quoting from it right now. Let's see here. It says, although factors contributing to poor medication adherence are myriad and include those that are related to patients. Okay, and here's the example. Suboptimal health literacy. In other words, I don't know what it is I'm doing.
Right.
Lack of involvement in the treatment decision-making process, which is interesting. So that's the two that are brought for patients. And then it said includes also those that are related to physicians, prescription of complex drug regimens, communication barriers, ineffective communication of information about adverse effects, and provision of care by multiple physicians. So that's the second one. And the third one, and those that are related to healthcare systems, office visit time limitations, limited access to care, and lack of health information technology. Because of barriers to medication adherence are complex and varied, solutions to improve adherence must be multifactorial, which I look at, and there is things that we need to do multifactorial. What stood out to me here, though, was that in all of those areas, behavior is one of the things that's at the core of this that's hard to address. Mm-hmm. I mean, because everything that they listed there are things like the physician. I have no idea what prescriptions or chemical, complexities are put together in there.
Right.
But I do know that taking what's prescribed is a behavioral thing. Mm-hmm. And when you decided to set a streak to take your iron supplement daily, it changed your life.
It changed, yep.
You had never before been able to do that. And now, for whatever reason, you set a streak and now you could. Abby never had been consistent at it before. Levels were all over the place, and set a streak and now she could do it. Mm-hmm. Because it changed the way that you looked at the problem.
Right.
And you said, well, the problem is not whether or not, is not the command of take this. It's the challenge of how many days in a row can I do this?
Right. And the thing that I love about as you're talking is that what has happened is that, so some of those problems, like you said, streaking isn't going to address. So in other words, deciding what that regimen should be and how the doctor communicates with the patient, those are things that the medical community is working on and addressing and researching. But what we noticed as you were reading this is that there is a behavioral component that, assuming let's say the medical community could solve all of those problems.
Yeah.
They're able to communicate clearly. The patient totally understands. The doctors, you have several doctors and they're all working together. So they've, in a perfect utopian world, the medical community has completely done it perfectly. I don't know that guarantees that the patient would still take their medication. Because and that's what you're saying, is that there is a behavioral component here. There is something inside of us that still doesn't guarantee we would do it.
Right.
Even if they did it all perfectly.
I know, it doesn't.
There's still something where we're like, okay.
Until you switch.
Till you make a streak about it and are like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to make it laughably simple. And I'm going to be successful.
And what I look at is it's not the command of take your medication. It's the challenge of how many days in a row can I do it.
Right.
And then I record that I did it. And that's where the streaking app comes in, is I can record. I did it every day.
That is also a huge thing. I think being able to, so Abby was able to go into her doctor with full confidence and be able to say, I've taken this every day.
Yeah.
How amazing also to be able to, for a doctor.
And she was at 90 days, I think, 90 and some odd days at that moment. But I mean, she knows the exact number, but was able to say exactly how many it is. And you know exactly how many days you've taken your iron supplement.
And how amazing would that be for a doctor, for a patient to come in and be able to show a record saying, I've taken this every day for this many days.
And here's the other thing, and this is what I look at. So I'm going to read some article highlights, and I want to riff on how the app is significant as well. And it actually relates to the third law of streaking, which is create a community. But here's the highlights of this article. Approximately 50% of patients do not take medications as prescribed, which we talked about in our last podcast. And again, just to know, it's a $100 billion annual problem. Medication adherence is not exclusively the responsibility of the patient. Interesting. Increasing adherence may have greater effect on health than improvements in specific medical therapy, which relates to what you were saying. Mm-hmm. If all of it got it exactly right,
we'd still have the challenge of getting the patients to do it.
Medication taking behavior is complex and involves patient, physician, and, listen to this, process components. Identification of non-adherence is challenging and requires specific interviewing skills. Solutions include encouraging a blame-free environment. How many times have you felt guilty for not doing something?
Right.
And you've said to yourself, I know I should be doing this, and I feel guilty. And you beat yourself up, and you're like, I don't need another thing to not feel guilty about. In fact, that was one of the reasons why you had decided to wait on streaking, is because you're like,
I don't want to feel guilty about this. And even yesterday on the podcast we were with, with Emily, actually it's been a couple of days now, she talked about going to the dentist and them asking, have you been flossing regularly? How many of us have had that experience where the dentist is like, so are you flossing? Crickets.
I'm a small mouth
frog. You instantly feel, nope. I feel guilty
and it's
for
guilt.
not.
However, now, I mean, for example, when I go into the dentist, actually I haven't been for a while. Isn't that interesting? But I haven't had any problems with my teeth because I've been flossing for 1,825 days consistently. And I know I've done it every single day. The thing that I look at with this, and where I wanted to go as far as the app and also streaking. Streaking is about doing something consistently that's laughably simple. So I'm going to take my iron supplement at least, one time daily, whatever it is. Take my iron supplement daily. Laughably simple. 2, to keep a record that you did it. On the streaking app, you can keep a record. 3 is to create a community. Here's the cool part. And this is what I always wanted the app for, is the streak itself. The iron, for example, yours, the iron supplement streak. You can share that with friends. Well, if medical adherence is part of the doctors or physicians as well, just imagine if they're part of your community. and they can share with you through the app just a great job, high five, whatever it is.
Right.
And some people may say, well, that's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, they have a whole bunch of patients. However, I'll tell you, I saw my dad's doctor take care of him. He knew everything my dad was doing. And to have an app to be able to congratulate him on taking his medication, now we're promoting this great blame-free environment where we can take and celebrate success. It's
Together.
not about accountability. It's not about the whip on the back. We're celebrating the success of it. I mean, I looked at this. I want to read this final conclusion. Man, this time goes so fast. Strong evidence shows that many patients with chronic illnesses have difficulty adhering to their recommended medication regimen. Believing that medication non-adherence is the, quote, fault of the patient is an uninformed and destructive model that is best abandoned. In other words, physicians and also patients, thank you, get together, create this community. And then it says this: as the former Surgeon General C. Everett Kopp reminds us, maybe Koop, K-O-O-P, reminds us, quote, drugs don't work in patients who don't take them. And I just look at it and think about how setting a streak and really considering the streak as the opportunity to get really consistent at your vitamins or at your medications or whatever it is, and then create a community and share with those around you through the app that says, I did it, and then send each other high fives, send each other congratulations. You can do all of that through the app. It's just, I don't know, amazing. It kind of blows my mind.
And it's amazing to me. I'm continually amazed about how success and just this little positive high five, how motivating they are, how much mileage we get from those little things.
Yeah.
So the mileage you get from that community high-fiving you, the mileage that you get from a small success, it's amazing.
It is amazing. We're out of time. Can you believe it?
I know.
It goes so fast.
January's going to
go right by. We're looking forward to talking with you again. We're going to continue forward with January with health and fitness. Next time, we're going to be talking a little bit about how exercising, what that means as far as with a streak, because I think it's a little different than what you might think. Mm-hmm. So we're looking forward to it. If you'd like to share with us your streaks, please do at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at streakingmastery.com.
Or Jamie, Jami, at streakingmastery.com.
Until next time,
keep streaking.
Keep streaking.
Worth living among the rush. Do one push up. Become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry. Don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that